Hi, this is Meggan Jax, Creative Memories Independent Advisor, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Basketweave Border Punch as a stencil to make a border. What I've got here, all the supplies we're going to need. I've got a piece of background paper that I've cut to 1 3/4 inch by 11 1/4 inch. I've got a piece of navy cardstock that I've cut to 1 1/2 inches wide by 11 inches long. I've got a piece of white cardstock that I've cut to 10 3/4 inches long. The width on this doesn't matter, but I would say about 1 to 1 1/4 inch would be fine. And I've also gone ahead and punched a border for the Basketweave Border Punch out of white cardstock. So what we're gonna do is, I've already done it on the white, but we're gonna use our corner rounder and we're gonna feed it in from the back side to punch all of our corners. And when you're feeding it in, you need to pay a little bit of attention because I've made this mistake where I haven't allowed it to be lined up. I've gotten a little lazy and maybe not paid attention to making sure that I'm in there nice and square and punching. I'm gonna go all the way around every time, just making sure that I've got it in there nice and square so that I don't end up with kind of funky looking corners. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the rust colored background paper. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use that white piece of cardstock that I've already done the corner punches, and those are going to be, I'm going to use that to be my guide to making these straight lines with my gold pen. So I'm going to line it up. And the trick here, and you might want to practice this, is to use the fine tip end. And you're going to want to use a nice, even pressure all the way along the edge. And you're pretty much going to go from corner to corner about 1/8 of an inch inside. So I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to just do an even stroke all the way down. And then I would just rotate and I'm going to go all the way around. Take your time here. You want to make sure that this is nice and even. And like I said, if you need to practice, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab my ends. Once again, about 1/8 of the way in, 1/8 of an inch in. And I'm going to go from about 1/8 of an inch from corner to corner. So I'm not going to go all the way across. I'm going to go just part way. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the other side. Now for the corners, I'm going to take this corner here and I'm going to kind of try to line up my two corners here. Eyeball it a little bit. This doesn't have to be perfect, but give it your best shot. Now you might have to be a little bit careful because the ink will be a little bit wet. I've got a little bit of a gap there. I'm just going to use my pen and kind of dot it in place. And I'm going to switch over to my other corner here because the other side looked like it was getting a little bit wet and was dragging a little bit of the ink. I'm going to go ahead and do the other corner. So now I have all the way done around. Now it's time to use the Basketweave punch and line it up as a stencil. A little bit of a trick here is to go ahead and use your repositionable tape runner. And so what you're going to want to do here, we're only going to be using the pieces that have their full length. So these little diamond kind of diamond shaped or the partial rectangle areas, we're not going to use those. So that's actually when I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use my repositionable runner on these areas, a few areas down the strip on both sides. And what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to kind of tack it into place. I don't want to use my repositionable along the whole thing because anytime it leaves a little bit in here, I don't want that when I'm trying to use it as a stencil. So I've actually gone ahead and done that. You would line this up. I have a full length middle one here, and I'm going to line it up at, down here at the end. And then I'm going to come up here to the top, and I should have another full length one, and I can work it where it should be centered. So I have a full length center one here and a full length center one here at the top. And I'm just going to work it along until they're both contained within the lines. So you can see here, I've got a full length center one, and wasn't quite a full length one, but the dimensions I'm showing you, it will be. And then I'm going to go ahead and center this horizontally. Spacing wise, I should see a little bit of gold in each one of these divots. And then since I've got the repositionable on here, I kind of would tack it down. And then I'm going to grab my gold pen and I'm going to start filling in all of the center, the long little rectangles. I'm not going to fill in these side pieces. I'm only going to fill in these full length ones. And I would just keep going along. Now I've gone ahead and done that on this other piece here. I used repositionable. So now I would just be able to pull this off. Got a little bit of residue left behind. I can just use, make sure this is really dry before you go ahead and start rubbing off any repositionable adhesive. I did this a little bit ago, so I know that it's plenty dry. I'm going to pull off any repositionable. And now I've got this lovely gold foiled border. I'm gonna come back to my rust colored border background that I made. I'm going to just use repositionable here, but you could use permanent. And I'm going to center this on the border. And now you can see I would then add any foil embellishments or any other kind of thing you want to add here. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's a fun technique to try. You can kind of look at your border punches or any of your punches in a whole new way if you think about using our pens and using them as stencils. It's just a great technique to kind of have in your arsenal of things to do and to try out. It's really not that hard. Practice these long lines first on a just a scrap piece of paper and you'll be all set to go. I hope to see you soon. Thanks.